What is up, and welcome to another edition of the Mile High Hoops podcast. As always, I am your host, Zach Bai, and as always, I appreciate you spending a sliver of your busy day with me here on the pod, reacting to a mega monster uppercase W win in Game 5. Obviously, the deeper we go, these games get more and more important, so it goes without saying, most important game of the season, won by the Denver Nuggets on a historically special night in Denver. I was lucky enough, blessed enough to be there once again. I have been at every single playoff game during this run and plan on making every single playoff game during this run. And this is so fun, man. This is so fun. The arc of this series, it's its own documentary. It's its own documentary. And what we saw from Nikola Jokic in Game 5 on a night that started with him receiving his third MVP award. And it's so special. I was down on the floor for it. I will remember it for the rest of my life. I was happy that Jokic is in the space as a person, and I'm not going to go delve into who Jokic is as a dude, but when he got that second MVP, accepting the trophy in the locker room, as opposed to in front of the hometown crowd. I'm just so grateful that this is what he's agreeing to do, or maybe even wants to do. And I think some of it has to do with the weight that was off his shoulders this time last year when he won his first championship. All right. And I think that for him, maybe he did not want to have the same pomp and circumstance accepting the second MVP award when the team wasn't healthy, there was early playoff exits, and now he's just in a better frame of mind to say, yeah, no, you want to know what? I am okay going to get my flowers in front of everyone. And so that was special. And then somehow the play superseded the moment because Nikola Jokic has seized control over this series. Now, because of how the timing is going to work out, once again here on today's Thursday edition of the pod, Game 6 is here in a few hours, so you may be listening to this after the game, and maybe I catch you before. But I do still want to get a lot of the thoughts out of my head from Game 5, and then look ahead to Game 6. All right, Nikola Jokic has this series in a vice grip. We are watching what it looks like when one of the 10 greatest players in the history of this game is smack dab in the middle of his prime and is feeling their own mortality, their basketball mortality. You guys know the numbers. We talked about it before it ever happened. Winners of Game 5 go on to win nearly 83% of the time when the series is tied 2-2. Jokic has a unique sensitivity to that moment. And all he did is go out and play one of the greatest basketball games in the history of NBA playoff basketball. And that is not hyperbole. That is not over-exaggeration. When you talk about scoring 40 points, missing 7 total shots on the defensive player of the year who plays your position, and you go 8 of 9 against Rudy Gobert, you score 40 points, you take over the second half of that game. Nikola Jokic is doing things that have never been done in the literal sense. We just watched the first ever postseason game with 40 points, 13 assists, and no turnovers. There is no precedent. That's according to Basketball Reference, which is like the statistical Bible of basketball. They don't have a comp. All right. Now you could say he's the first player, or only since Chris Paul. It's only Joker and Chris Paul to ever have a playoff game where you go for 40 points, at least 10 assists, and don't have a turnover. But Jokic had 13 assists. I mean, this is extreme. We're talking about Jokic being the first player in NBA playoff history to score or assist on 70 points or more, to directly contribute to 70 points or more without a single turnover. Guys, that goes back to the 1970s when they started tracking turnovers. It's legendary. It's historical. And much like other things with Jokic, we don't have a comp and we don't have a precedent. And you're seeing that type of game with those type of stakes. That's why literally it is one of the greatest basketball games ever played. And you're doing it against the number one defense in the entire NBA, the defensive player of the year, and a unit that the guy creating it created this team and designed that team to beat the Denver Nuggets. And this is who he's doing it against. It's remarkable. I feel lucky to be in this moment, even just hosting this podcast for the sixth year now, that we're reacting to stuff like this within a series where it got so dark. Game 2 happened during this series. It's hard to reconcile the contrast of what we've seen within this self-contained series with the Timberwolves. It's remarkable. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it. I am enjoying this ride. All right. And I hope you are too. I hope you are too. But that's what I will remember. Like other guys, contributed. Obviously, Aaron Gordon was fantastic. This guy's been the second best player in the series. Aaron Gordon has been remarkably good. And there he is again in that type of game, shooting 50%, perfect from the free throw line, 18 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. 5 of the 10 rebounds were offensive boards. That is 5 extra possessions that would have ended otherwise, and Aaron Gordon kept it alive. It's incredible. It's flat out incredible. Christian Brown coming off the bench. He feels like he is back into 2023 playoff version of CB. Like that guy is, it feels like we're getting it every night now. Confidence is sky high, and back-to-back games hitting a monster fourth quarter 3. And in KCP, feels like he just burst out of his slump. He was hyper efficient after struggling. 6 of 8 from the floor, 4 of 5 from 3 for 16 points. Just fantastic. Jamal was not great. Jamal, and he hit some shots down the stretch, but he was not. That was not an A+ Jamal game. And I look at Anthony Edwards' defense on him. Ant-Man was so smothering to Jamal for big chunks of that game. And then but conversely, and it's, you can't say one without the other. He was great defensively, but it looked to me that he poured so much of his energy into his defense on Jamal that maybe he just didn't have quite enough offensively. And that's what makes, and that's why Ant-Man can get to Kobe or Jordan, but that's what makes those two guys special. Like Jordan was winning Defensive Player of the Year in the same season that he led the league in scoring. Like, make sense of that. Kobe Bryant was taking over NBA Finals in overtime as Shaq sat on the bench at 21 years old while he was also an all-NBA first-team defender. Ant-Man's not an all-NBA defender, or has not been yet. And so that's why I'm like, Ant can get there, but let's slow down with putting the crown right on him, right? Like, not just let's let it happen. And he's not contributing it to it, by the way. He doesn't like the comparisons to Jordan specifically. And after the game, Anthony Edwards is like, he literally is laughing. Like, sometimes I just have to laugh because he was dominant. This guy's the MVP. Hard to not like Anthony Edwards because he is such a great basketball player, but he's also charismatic and he's also respectful. And that's a unique intersection right there. And I like him giving Jokic his flowers in real time. But we want to know what? It sounded like he was saying that after the series was over. There's still more games to be played. You rarely get that admission while there's still games left, right? And that could be telling. And it could be telling. And if you listen to someone like Draymond Green saying, you could see it, they don't believe they can win. They don't believe they can win. Talking about Minnesota, of course. And he may be right. And what my basketball instincts says, there is no way that Minnesota team is now beating Denver in back-to-back games. And that's the task. And for months I said, show me a team that will beat Denver 4 times in 14 days. That phraseology, 4 times in 14 days. You don't get anything for winning twice. You don't get anything for winning a third time. You got to beat them 4 times, and I don't see it happening here. And we know that this series was ahead of schedule from the timeline to get to the finals because this is the Western Conference Finals, or feels like it. And there will be challenges ahead that present them, and we'll get to all that because this series isn't even over yet. But Denver has their hands at 10-2 right on the steering wheel now of this series. And if you look at Jokic historically in closeout games, all right, if you look at it in closeout games where the Nuggets are ending another team's season, you go back to the closeout game 5 against Minnesota last year, 28 points, 17 rebounds, 12 assists, 2 blocks, 2 steals. Go to game 6 against Phoenix, 32 points, 10 rebounds, 12 assists on 72% shooting. So in back-to-back closeout games last year, rounds 1 and 2, Jokic is an absolute animal putting up triple-doubles. Closeout game against the Lakers, game 4, 30 points, 14 rebounds, 13 assists, 3 blocks. Another super chunky triple-double in a slam-the-casket door shut. A closeout game against the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals, game 5, 28 points, 16 rebounds, on 75% shooting, missed 4 shots in the clinching championship game a year ago. And then in game 5 this year against the Lakers when he's slamming the casket door shut, 25 points, 20 rebounds, and 9 assists. 25 points, 20 rebounds, and 9 assists on 57% shooting. So I'm mentioning this because if I had to guess, I think we have a triple-double waiting for us in a closeout game 6 in Minnesota. And the casket gets slammed shut right on their fingers. Right on their fingers. That is what I am anticipating happening. All right. The game is tipping off in just a few hours. So if you're listening to this beforehand, shout out. If you're listening to this afterward, shout out. All right. We are going to leave it there for today, and we will be back on Tuesday. And I want to mention one more thing on the way out here. I'm going to mention one more thing because we have seen the character of this team reveal itself during this series. And the old quote from John Wooden, basketball doesn't build character, it reveals it. And we have seen championship character from these Denver Nuggets. And there's a lot of fun moments during the game. Jokic is flying around, dunking, isolation threes, the footwork on Rudy Gobert. It was a basketball masterclass. But way beneath the surface, one of my favorite moments of the game is you don't see NBA teams shoot at the shot clock anymore. They used to. They don't anymore. They'll just hold it. All right? So there's like 2 seconds left on the shot clock, but 10 seconds on the game clock. They're just going to take the turnover, right? Other team gets the ball. Well, these players, whoever's holding the ball last, is going to get that turnover. Nikola Jokic is holding the ball as the seconds go from 3 to 2 to 1. And he's got 0 turnovers on the game. And kentavious caldwell-pope knows and has the presence of mind that Jokic doesn't have a single turnover. And he ran across the floor. And you'll see guys screw with each other during the year. And you guys see this. They'll, with 3 seconds left, they'll pass it to their teammate. And their teammate's got to catch it. And then he winds up with the turnover statistically. KCP knew Jokic had no turnovers, ran across the floor, and took the ball from him so he could take the turnover, and Jokic could stay blemish-free. That type of stuff makes my hair stand up because that's championship connectivity and championship DNA. And it starts with Jokic, and in that moment, it came all the way back up the totem pole to him to take the turnover out of his hand. I love this team. I love basketball. And loving basketball and loving this team, it's like to love basketball is to love these Nuggets. And that's what I want to leave it today. I hope you guys have a great weekend. And whatever happens next in this series, we'll be back on Tuesday talking about it right here on the Mile.